July 30th, 2024. We're back here again, Okemo Valley TV studios in Ludlow, Vermont. This is episode number 3 coming at you of the Tasty Twist podcast with Sammy B. I am Sammy B. That's me. Local resident here. You can find me on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and iTunes under my name, Sammy Blanchette. I have a website, sammybmusic.com, for all lists of shows of where I'm playing. Very happy that this has gone over well so far here at Okemo Valley TV. And just a heads up for everybody, this is the first promo because episodes are now starting to trickle in. We had Ali T 2 weeks ago, Zach Yukaitis last week. And all of these are going to be available for watch at Okemo Valley TV, OkemoValley.tv, locally on TV via Comcast Channel 1076 or VTEL Channel 166. On demand at OkemoValley.tv, and Okemo Valley TV has a YouTube channel as well too. It's free download streaming app on Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV, or on your mobile iPhones, smartphones, Google Play, and Android. So all different sort of options to feature right there. Again, this is episode number 3, and consistent with what we've been doing, we rub the Buddha's belly for good luck. There you go, right here. I am super excited to bring up a man who I believe doesn't need any sort of introduction, but he gets an introduction nonetheless. He's a man that has had a music career almost as long as I've been alive, dating back to his hometown residency of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He now resides out of Windsor, Vermont area, the Upper Valley as they call it. He performs twice a week. Well, he's got 8 shows a week-ish, sometimes 12. But his 2 mainstays every Tuesday at the Public House Pub in Queechee, and also every Friday at Big Fatty's Barbecue in White River Junction.
White River.
That is correct, yeah. He is a trained biologist, a certified licensed massage therapist. He has up to 9 albums/EPs available on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iTunes, all the jazz. His latest release back in the COVID year, 2020, is called Identity Crisis, and it's also, but in a different realm, the name of his first published book that is out now also too, Identity Crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you my good friend and partner in crime, Mr. Jim Yeager. Good morning, sir.
What an introduction, Sammy.
Where do we go from there? I mean, like, yeah. Lots of different questions I prepare for artists so far, but we can start right off the basis before we get into the meat and potatoes of your Vermont career. How did you get started? When did it all begin? And lessons, etc.
Started when I was a kid, obviously, like it pretty much does for everybody. I started playing guitar when I was about 16. Played drums when I was like 12, and grew up in the 70s and 80s actually. I listened to bands like Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and classic rock stuff. So that was my influence.
Did you say Jimmy Page was one of your first big influences?
John Bonham.
Nice.
Yeah, I was a drummer back then.
Yeah.
So
that's what you started on, drums or guitar? Yeah. I don't know if we've ever talked about that.
I started on drums when I was like 12. I used to take the remember those old metal hangers with the cardboard things on them? You're too young, Sam.
Was that the old school version of an electric triangle?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say, honestly, no. Yeah. Yes, too young. Right,
so they used to have metal hangers, Sammy. Yeah. And they would have these cardboard tubes that would go in on those. So you didn't put creases in the clothes.
Wow.
So I'd rip the cardboard tubes off and play on the encyclopedias on my bed until I got my first Ludwig kit when I was 14.
Nice.
And then I just played John Bonham riffs, just played. Nice. He was my hero.
Where did you jam out of? Parents' basement, friends' basement? Where was this kit set up for?
My attic, friends' basements. You know how it goes.
That's awesome.
Garage bands, man.
Yeah. That actually was a big app 20 years ago on those old computers before GarageBand was what I used to record in an old router or something that connects into whatever it's called that connects into the computers now. That's awesome. So did you take drum lessons
before you continue? You know how we used to record? We used to take 2 cassette decks, record onto one, and then play it back and have the other one facing the other one.
My first
That was my first multi-track.
And my first car had a cassette player before I turned it into a CD player. And then everybody goes, dude, we had 8-track back in the day. So
Anyway, I'm sorry, Sammy.
yeah, no, it's quite all right. You know what my first cassettes were in the car, by the way?
What?
Grateful Dead, 1975. Carlos Santana Band, 1972.
Wow.
That was mean introductions in the driving.
Guess what mine were?
What?
I had Kiss Destroyer and Van Halen 1 on 8-track.
Whoa. Nice. Did you ever, before we segue into the guitar, did you ever master finger tapping like Eddie Van Halen or some of his predecessors before that?
No.
No.
I don't claim to be a Sammy B on guitar.
Oh, come on. I just started learning that like a year or so ago, by the way, too, the finger tapping.
No, that was amazing.
And it's hard. I view myself with finger tapping because I don't really have that much interest, personal opinion, interest in, I do my own thing. But slide guitar and finger tapping, I haven't quite gotten the interest level around that yet. Yeah. And it's hard when you first learn how to do both. Yeah. For sure.
I'm not really a solo player. I mean, I'll do it because I have to. Like, we have a trio, so I have to play some solos. Yeah. You know, that's why I call my friend Sammy B and say, hey, can you be on this gig? We need a shredder.
Yeah. It's amazing how we've come across in different avenues in life. You being down in Philadelphia, me being down in Fairfield County, Connecticut before I moved up here in 2018. But how long have you actually lived in Vermont now?
I moved here in 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
It's about 14 years now.
Yep.
14 years.
Almost 15 years.
Was there any exact thing that drew you up here?
When I was married, my ex and I bought a property up here because she loved it up here. And then, we got separated in 2008. And in 2009, she told me she wanted to move up here, and I'm like, okay, let's do it, And so...
How big was the property?
It was like 3 acres up in Barnard, Vermont.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Right on the lake? Silver Lake?
Up the road. More like, where they do the Feast and Field at the Fable Farm?
I don't know that.
It's called the Royalton Turnpike, but it's up that way. It's right off the Royalton Turnpike. Yeah.
Cool. That's such a beautiful area.
Yeah, and that's so Vermont to say the Royalton Turnpike. It's a dirt road.
It's incredible how Vermont has maintained no massive billboards after all these years on the roads. Yeah. Even 89 and 91.
I might be wrong, but I think that was in 1960 when that was instituted.
1960.
That's how forward thinking the state of Vermont is.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. But then you moved over to Windsor, Vermont, like you mentioned, right?
Yeah, I moved to a lot of places, but I ended up in Windsor. I bought a house in the heat of COVID. Yeah. Like in May of 2020, I started the process. Yeah.
So you also play bass guitar also too, in addition to regular guitar and drums? Can if need be.
As needed.
Yeah. One of the questions I prepared for you I thought was kind of cool. Give me your overall experience and perspective on being able to play the top 3 rhythm instruments. Nothing against keyboard also too. I'm sure you can do a little bit of that too, but probably gives you an overall good perspective on just rhythm and how a band, like a trio especially, should operate, right? As far as everybody knowing their parts.
Yeah, I mean, the first things that comes to my head, Sammy, when you ask me that question is, and you know this yourself all too well, is your back line has to be so tight.
100%.
It just
especially the bass and drums.
You don't want to have, you don't want to be, have to turn around and go, slow it down, speed it up, do this, do that, and to just not even have to be able to look back and be like, I can do whatever I want.
Right? It gives you that release and sensation of, this is amazing, we got this. Right. Yeah, the connection.
And for guys like you who really can shred on the guitar, you're not even concerned about what us guys in the back line are doing. Yeah. You're just able to fly and be Sammy and do your thing.
Aren't there like those funny memes on social media where it describes... It's like, oh, here's the vocalist, here's the lead guitar player, and they're the ones that get the most attention, rah, rah, rah. And then the bass player and the drummer in the back like, oh, what about us? Okay, yeah. But if you think about it, if you're in a really solid, tight band and you want to get somewhere career-wise, having that back line be rock solid tight is so critical. I totally agree.
I mean, if you're in the recording business, if you're a session guy, if you're a session person, that's where you're getting hired on. You know, like they say on, you know, the money's in the first 4 frets.
Yeah, it is. It is. And there's some consistency with the open chords on it, especially too, the 1-4-5 progression or the minor 6, the 2-5-1.
Show me a minor 6.
I will. I will absolutely do that for you. I will.
Because I don't read music, so
I was like at best. So let's say you're in G. Let's keep it in open chord position here. So G.
Yep.
G's your root 1. The minor 6 would be E minor. Then your minor 2 would be
right.
Then your 5 would be D. See, we just did. Shout out to Tommy Emmanuel. We did Tommy Emmanuel.
Oh,
that was adding the sus2 and the sus4 right there.
Oh.
You get that? Yeah. Then you could also make it a little styly by doing it as a dominant back to the 1. Then you land on the very happy G major chord right there. See, folks, you're getting a lesson here also too.
I'm getting a lesson.
But no, that is one of the things I learned in jazz school a lot was those progressions. And it also got me to see how country artists, blues artists all piece everything together. I was blown away in music school how much the blues and jazz are connected with one another. Yeah. Same with classical music.
Absolutely. And this is all stuff that I've been doing for years, but don't know that I'm doing it. Don't know what it's called.
But it becomes second nature because you've been doing it. It's just the terminology may not be what you base it on.
Yeah, I use all those transitional chords. And it was just more just from growing up when I grew up and they were still using all that stuff in music as opposed to a lot of the pop stuff now. It's just one riff repeating over and over again.
When you were back in Philadelphia, did you learn all that stuff on the fly at open mics or did you have lessons from different people?
No, I spent, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I literally would spend 8 hours a day in my room listening to old records and playing along.
Just playing by ear.
Figuring
it out, yeah.
Figuring it out. And, a lot of that stuff was all that, like we were laughing about earlier, that was the 7 chord.
Yeah. Major
Everything
7.
In the 70s,
Yeah. While they're doing those exact faces, too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the word sunshine is in there somewhere. You hear it.
Yeah. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Back to F major 7 open. Yeah. Or actually, this is just straight F sharp major. And by the way, for the audience to hear also too, you were doing this, and I was doing this to a sense when I was in music school 10-something years ago too. This was before YouTube had everything. You go on YouTube now, you can look up everything.
Yes. I mean, when I started doing, playing in the cover business, playing music, playing covers for money.
Is that what we do this for? Money? Sometimes?
A little bit.
a little bit, yeah.
I had to sit in front of a cassette tape, rewind it, listen to the parts 75 times for the lyrics. There's no lyric sheets. There's no tab.
Yeah.
Tab didn't come in until later.
Walkman CD players made that so much easier for rewinding.
Oh, yeah.
And they had wicked cool headphones, too.
Yeah.
You walk around the streets, like, look at these things. Look what I have on. Right. Oh, there's a guitar solo. I got to rewind it. Yeah, let me go back to that. Oh, that's cool, too. Let me rewind that, too. The people could look at you in the streets. Dude, what's wrong with you? And you'd be like, where do you want to start? I got a lot. Where do you want to start? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just took that in the left field. That's part of the podcast, too.
It's I'd rather be loose on this one.
Yeah. But how was the music scene in Philadelphia? And I know you go back every once in a while, correct? Yes. See family and friends and just kind of see.
Probably the same as it is in every major city. There's there's unions. There's major stiff competition. So moving up here was quite refreshing. That the scene, people in the scene got along so well with each other and helped each other out like we do.
Healthy competition, yeah.
Healthy competition, yeah. I mean, it was a little more dog eat dog in the city.
Were you kind of taken back at first when you moved up here? How much talent there is up here? Because I was.
Yes.
Coming from the Black Rock, Fairfield County area in Connecticut, I come up here, I'm like, man, there's a lot of talented cats up here too.
Yeah, and I figured it out during the first open mics I would go to, and I would be like, this, it's not nearly as many people here, but there's so many talented people.
And that speaks of the positive nature of Vermont still having that community feeling, and that definitely transitions into the music community up here as well too. I believe,
totally.
as far as everyone helping
100%.
each other out.
Yep.
Yeah. And that could be a good segue into how busy you and I are, especially with our solo acoustic careers, that while we're trying to get every possible gig that we can at the expense of our health weekly, sometimes daily, when I'm not available to do a show because we're already double, triple, quadruple booked in one day sometimes, I embrace giving contacts other artists that I highly recommend, like some of our colleagues. And I think that's a good practice to get in, is to help each other in that way. Now, they may be booked also as well too, but at least you tried. You're like, hey, here's my list of guys I can give you, guys or gals I can give you.
And what it does is, for me, is it's led me into people, and I'm sure you get this all the time too. People come to you people who are looking to book entertainment are coming to you going, Sammy, we want you. Well, I can't do it. Well, can you help me find somebody? And that's what eventually led me into helping other people book as well. I do it for a couple places. I do it for the town of Woodstock. And I also do it for a place called the Ottaquiche Yacht Club, which is in Woodstock.
Yeah. Thank you for helping me get in there also too, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, it's a whole nother subject getting into booking.
Oh yeah.
And helping each other book and having, having
and then promoting
buyers.
It as well too. Also being your own graphic designer. Like I've mentioned in the first couple episodes, like especially Allie T and I talking about it, how that is a full-time job also in and of itself. Yeah. Facebook, social media. Yeah. Some want to do it more than others. I just sort of mastered-ish TikTok a year ago.
Yeah.
But it's just another thing you got to stay on top of. So yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, I'm an old head. I have not gotten
you do a great job though, by the way, on your Facebook status updates, just giving it in full detail. Yeah. And dude, you're super supportive of the restaurant industry around here. You're super supportive of all the small businesses. That's one thing I've always admired about our friendship, is how proactive you are on every business up here, because it's a team effort. Yeah. Everybody helping each other out.
Well, and one of the things that you start to learn after you do this for long enough is that you're not just a musician or an entertainer. You're a representative for the places that
you're a salesman. You're a front of the line salesman.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. So it helps them. It helps us. So yeah.
Yeah. Describe to our folks that are going to be watching this a typical week in the life of Jim Yeager, whether it's your massage therapy clients, your sometimes 8+ gigs a week, and kind of lump that all in, how you got into biology and massage therapy. And because you've got such a fascinating personality and background in the time that I've known you and doing, studying on you and everything, it's really remarkable, like your week-to-week operation.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Sammy. Yeah. I guess I'll start more like a timeline. I'll start with I was a microbiologist first. This is back in the Philly area.
Went to school for it?
Yeah. I have a science degree, and I started in biopharmaceuticals as a microbiologist, and I love science, but eventually I couldn't deal with the corporate world, because I'm an artist, and going to massage school. Did
you double major, or did you go like a separate time?
I went a separate time.
So
my son was like 2 years old when I was in massage school and working 60 hours a week in the corporate world. So it was a busy time, and so got out of the corporate world, moved up here, just graduated massage school. So I was looking for massage work, and started up in Killington at the Grand. And then at the time, the Woodstock Inn was building their massive spa there. So that's when I started in 2010 there doing massage.
That's fantastic.
And that's when I started hitting, as soon as I moved here, I started hitting the open mics.
Nice.
And that was Bentley's, the first one.
Yeah.
And that's where I met one of my major mentors in my career, which is Brian Warren, who Brian Warren set me up Bentley's like, you're really good. You should be playing out here. I'm like, I don't have a PA. He goes, yeah, you do. I said, no, I don't. He goes, yes, you do. And that's how it started. And he's been like my best friend. I mean, he taught me everything. And
that's where you also met Andrew, who owns the Public House pub in Queechee, right? So, shout out to the Public House and their hard team up there. Yeah,
in Queechee, Vermont.
Working team up there.
Andrew was tending bar he was a front end manager at Bentley's. So this was back in 2010, 2011. So we've had a pretty long-standing relationship.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sure, along with open mics, through your massage therapy clients as well too, you've probably made some pretty solid music connections over the years as a result of both of them working side by side with one another, and friendships with people as well too, not just work related friendships.
Yes, and you hit a really important point about what we do. Relationships is all of it.
It's everything.
Yeah, it's everything.
It's everything. It's the old school approach, but it still pertains into new school more than ever.
Yeah, you never know when a massage client.
Don't tell the whole picture.
No, you never know when a massage client's going to go, hey, I'm having this big party at my Vermont house. Yeah. And I heard you play. Mm-hmm. So it's always.
And then you meet 200 of their friends that could lead on to the next thing. Yeah, it spreads like wildfire after a while, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. So that's how I got wrapped up into the Vermont music scene, and was playing. Started doing the open mic, started doing some gigs 2011, 2012. Started going over to the Skunk and checking out the open mic. There was a guy named Gregory Brown who hosted it back then. And, I got a name over there. And in 2014, Greg asked me if I would take over for him and host the Skunk open mic.
And you did that for 5 years, I want to recall you saying, before lending it on to Peter?
Yep,
Meyer?
5 years.
Yeah.
So, and then I
went there a couple of times with Neil Barron. Great time there, man. The Skunk. Great community vibes there. Neil, shout out, brother.
Yeah. The Skunk is an incredibly special place. I mean, it's always great when you play places where the owners adore music and are musicians, because they really put that high up on the list. They take good care of their entertainers, and Carlos and Gretchen were incredible to me, and now they're like family. I go there and we hug and kiss, and I walk in like them, but they're like that with everybody though. Yeah, they're just amazing people.
Speaking of family, does your kid now play music as well too? I forget. Does he play music as well too? Does. Sometimes side by side also too, or
he's just learning. But it's funny. My dream since he was a baby was for him and I be in a band together.
That's fantastic.
He started on violin when he was like 7, and I kind of was hands off. I was like, his mom really carried the torch in terms of making sure he was practicing, and I would help, and but I didn't want to be influencing him in music at that young of an age. What I did for him was play him stuff that I liked when I was growing up, playing music that I liked, and just from that perspective, because I didn't want to be the burden on him musically. Like, oh, I got to practice. Dad's making me practice. So when he hit about...
Because then they could lose that focus.
Right. I didn't want to turn him off to music.
Right. Because that's still a young age where they're going through school. They're going through hobbies. They're going through, what do I want to go to college for? Or what do I want to really pursue in high school? And sometimes I would imagine the extra pressure could derail a child in the young growing age.
And it's just another thing that they're being pressured about. Right. And I didn't want to be that. Right. So when he hit about 17, one day he said to me, Dad, I think I want to play guitar. I think it was like 2 days later, I had an acoustic guitar. There you go. And you want me to show you a few chords? And he's run away with it. Like he's into jazz. He wants a jazz teacher.
Nice.
Sammy.
He when I get back in the lessons, I will certainly.
Dude. I mean, so
for sure.
So he's into like these YouTube metal shredders and jazz. Yeah. And like bossa nova, like from what do you call it? The South American countries. The
bossa nova.
Yeah, bossa nova.
Bossa nova. Yeah. Did you say bossa nova?
I don't know what I said.
That was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Are you making fun of me saying
no. What was I going to segue to? Oh, so you're talking about all the way up until the Skunk.
Yeah.
and which is where I pretty much met you for the first time.
Right.
I think it was what was the song by Steve Miller Band, Swingtown, where you were playing drums and I was playing guitar. Yes, that was wicked cool.
Yeah.
But it's really cool how you and I got to know each other more over the next couple of years, especially forming a power trio at Neil's Restaurant in Proctorsville, former Neil's Restaurant, the Whatnots. And that was when I really, really got to know how solid of a drummer you are. And then Artie, King Arthur Jr., shout out to Artie, guitar player by nature, but translating to being a bass player.
Yeah.
Those were some fun times, man. And the band still exists with our good friend Ty McCarthy now carrying the torch on drums. But dude, those are some fun times, man.
Oh, yeah.
Those were some fun times.
Great gigs.
We really did.
Yeah.
And our last one was Wobbly Barn, right? 2022.
Yep.
That was fun as well too.
Is that what it was? 22.
I believe so. Yeah. It already seems like so long ago.
I know.
Yeah. But you're just focused primarily on guitar nowadays, correct? Just solo,
I mean, right now I'm just so wrapped up in gigging because this is what we do to make money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when
12 months out of the year when you really work at it too.
Yeah, when you make that choice to make that your living, it's an all-in thing.
Yeah.
And so that was my choice, and this is what I do. I'm at 55 years old, I'm starting to the downward trajectory is starting to happen for me. I'm starting to like, all right, what's my plan for when I grow up?
Yeah. I know you did some recording work with Rebecca down in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Could that be something towards the tail end of your performing career you get more into, is studio work and engineering?
Well, if it's tied into actually making a living, probably not.
Probably not.
Because in that world, I produce. I like to mentor young artists and help them produce records, and they don't have money.
Yeah.
So it's really a labor of love, and
it's got to be fun though, being on the other side, pushing buttons or absorbing from the other side.
I'm not a button pusher. I'm more like a Rick Rubin type, and I'm not comparing myself to Rick Rubin at every level. I sit back and go, more of this, less of that. Let's take this song and look at it. Is this part too long? Maybe we can shorten this. Mm-hmm. Maybe instead of what
might catch people's eyes or get their eyes, catch their ears. Sorry, I said eyes. This is ears. Sorry, I gotta relearn the body. Sorry, yeah.
Like maybe instead of the obvious chord here, we use a chord that's not so obvious. So a lot of pre-production stuff. That's what I did with Vincent over at the Underground.
He's awesome.
We worked with a few
Vincent
artists.
Freeman's the best.
Yeah. So I did a lot of pre-production with artists and. Because I don't want to turn this to a studio thing, but before you go into studio, and so many people coming up making records, young people, so many of them now, don't completely have the understanding that how important pre-production is. You're not one of those people because you're just you're one of the very few people that just go in and nail it in one take. But 99% of people can't do that.
Yeah.
And you have your songs down already. So
the gigs are the practice before going in and recording them.
Yeah, but not everybody's working 6, 7, 8 nights a week.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's only 7.
Yeah, there's only 7. 8 days a week by the Beatles. Yeah.
What is your record, by the way?
Right. It could be.
What is it?
8 days a week. What album was that on?
No, what was your gig record for a week?
Oh, gig record for a week. Recently or in general?
No, in your career.
Oh, God. Well, that depends because lately I've had some weeks now in the last couple of years I've pushed 10 to 12.
Yeah.
I think our good buddy Nick Breedis out of Bridgewater Corners has done 13 sometimes.
Yeah.
Liz Reedy, the great Liz Reedy's also up that as well too. But
I think 12 was probably mine.
Yeah, I'd say between 10 and 14. But
crazy.
I had Memorial Day weekend. I had 2 days back-to-back triple headers, Saturday and Sunday, 6 gigs.
That's insane, yeah.
I don't like doing that frequently. As much as I like to gig, I can't do that like all the time.
I did 6 hours straight one time at the Woodstock Inn. That was too much.
How long did it take you to write your book? Identity Crisis. Same name as your last release as well too.
Yes. That's interesting because it took 2 years, but really it took 2 months. And then what I mean by that is to say that the first 30 pages I wrote initially, but it felt like I was pulling teeth. It just didn't feel.
Is it tough to get going in a rhythm? Much like writing a song?
Absolutely.
Much like writing an original, sometimes you have writer's block.
Yes, and when you feel the door open, you feel the door open, like and the floods start to pour in and the stream of consciousness come through. So I wrote 30 pages, and then I sat it down and I said, I'm not writing a book. I can't. This is too hard. A couple years later, I took a trip down to Florida. I came back, and I picked up my phone, and I went into the Notes app and said, I'm going to write my book on the Notes app on my phone. Wrote it in 2 months. Wrote 100.
Based on the 30 pages?
Huh?
Based on the original?
I started with the original 30 pages. I put them into the Notes app, and I wrote the next, 160 some pages in 2 months.
Nice.
On my Notes app.
You kept it at around 200 pages. That's a good starting point for some people that are just getting into reading. You know?
Well, it's, I don't want to really get into the book thing, but it's
we can do that another episode.
It's not an easy reading.
Yeah.
So 200 pages is fine.
Yeah,
that's how it went. Man.
That's fantastic. Have you written any new originals in the last couple of years since your last release?
My last release was actually not Identity Crisis. It was a record called From the Inside.
Was that with the Funky Flats band?
No, that's actually my last release.
That's actually the last release.
My last solo release was called From the Inside, and what I did was I bought a 1950s Herc Favilla, which is it's an Italian man who made nylon string guitars. And I bought this, and I took it to Scott
McDonald, shout out, Chester.
Incredible luthier.
Incredible.
Took it to Scott, and I said, look, I need you to do two things for me. I need you I need you to just convert
bring it back to life, number one.
Yeah, and then convert it to a lefty. Because, I'm a lefty.
Yeah. How did you get into being a lefty guitarist, by the way? Not to totally derail.
Yeah.
No, I could have picked that up. No. But was it a Jimi Hendrix thing, the late, great Jimi Hendrix, or just...
No, I mean, I'm left-handed, and nobody taught me guitar. I picked up, somebody gave me a guitar one time, and
you just figured it out.
I figured it out upside down first.
Like Albert King.
Yeah, I was playing
the great
upside
Albert
down.
King. Yeah.
And then I was like, this sucks.
Just be as honest as possible right off the bat.
It was like all the open chords I got down. And when I started wanting to do other stuff, it's like, it's a pain in the ass. So I restrung it myself, and then it became much easier. So that's how I got into being a lefty guitar, just because I'm lefty and it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Didn't feel right.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That's awesome.
So,
yeah. How's life on the road as an artist, an entrepreneur in general, been in your 30-plus year career? Because one of the things I try to let people know about what we do for a living especially, we spend a lot of time on the road by ourselves or sometimes with our families going from gig to gig. But most of the time it is solo, and it's podcasts on the radio, sports talk radio, other music, or silence as we're preparing to go from venue to venue. Yeah. How's your experience been in general?
Well, when you say on the road, it makes me think of two things. It makes me think of when I was 25, and we actually did some touring on the road. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Being in a van with
going cross country and
well, we did the East Coast mostly, but being in a van with three different guys.
That's a family relationship in and of itself.
25 years old. You can imagine what that was like.
Oh man, back in those
that
days.
That was in the mid 1990s.
The
scene was popping. I mean, we played in New York City and we played in Virginia and Baltimore. And,
did you ever get down as far as Florida, like Key West, or just along the?
No, we went as far south as Richmond.
Okay.
Richmond, Virginia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a conference. It was called the Route 1 South or something conference. It was like South by Southwest kind of thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So that was being on the road back then. Being on the road now, and that's more like what you mean is it's. I think the hardest part of being on the road for me is that going from one job to the next, many times there's not enough time to go home, right? So
we barely spend time home sometimes.
Yeah, my best friend is parking lots.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you know, I got 2 hours from this gig to that gig. I can't go home and do anything. Let me go find a parking lot. I'll pull out my calendar. I'll start making calls. You know, your car kind of becomes your home.
Yeah.
Just, you know, your second home to a lot.
This is why they invented Bluetooth in the car, so that way you can be hands free and you could be.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not doing this stuff while I'm driving.
Yeah. No, yeah. No, but it's changed a lot, and I think because where we live now in Vermont, humble take, depending on where you live in Vermont, if we're doing it primarily to put food on the table, the solo acoustic thing, if you can manage that every single gig, mentally, physically, and interest level wise, it's been the way to go for a long time now. As much fun as playing in a band like the Whatnots or Magic Box Band or the Funky Flats for any of us in a band. Plus, we get to make all the rules, and there's no rehearsal essentially involved. Yeah. For better or for worse, you know.
It's true, and you know, and obviously you make more money when you're doing it yourself. But you know, for me, you know, being 55 years old, still doing this, yeah, it's fun to do it myself. But you know, you notice a lot of times I have Chris with me. Chris,
he's so rock solid.
Yeah,
he's such a rock solid
Chris McCampbell
player.
is an incredible bass player.
Incredible.
And so
shout out Chris.
Yeah. I have Chris with me. Plus, he's, you know, we become an act in and of ourselves. He's a background vocalist. He's an incredible bass player. You know, so.
Did you meet him from the Skunk?
No, I met him through. You know, he was in the Wheelers for a little. Played with the Wheelers. He had his own band. God, I can't. The name's slipping my mind. Wendigo was the name of his band.
Wendigo.
They were incredible. But I met him probably through Ty or Kim and Anthony.
Yeah.
And then we just, you know, when I do, you know, I just have a habit of when I meet somebody who's really good, I immediately like, you know, like we should jam.
Get their phone numbers, jam.
Right, we should jam. You know, hey, you should come with me.
yeah. Come with me, my friend.
Yeah. I, you know, so, you know, and now
it's going back to that relationships, word of mouth sort of thing is. Going back to we view what we do should be a healthy competition. We should be supporting each other and helping out each other, even though while we're looking out for ourselves, getting as many gigs as we possibly can. But there's been so many times where I've made so many great connections with talented cats like yourselves and King Arthur Jr., Nick, Liz, Ty, so many great people like up here in Vermont that I could just go on and about. It just feels good. It feels good making those good relationships with those individuals because they work their butts off too, like we do.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Yes, they do.
It's a lot, man. It is a mega grind what we do.
And, you know, it's from the other side, you know, from the people that you experience at the shows. It's just one of those businesses where, you know, you want people to see what you do, and they're just not going to. They're not going to see the work that happens on the other side.
They don't know until they're actually in your shoes.
And they don't, you know, maybe they don't need to know.
Right.
You know, maybe, it wouldn't be as cool for them to know all the work we're putting in behind the scenes because we just look like we're the fun, you know, we're the monkeys.
Yeah.
We're doing the monkey dance every night, right? You know,
we're actually really the Whatnots, but that's it's
we're doing the monkey dance every night, making people happy and smile and have a good time. And, you know, maybe they don't need to see the grind that goes on in the background.
Sure, yeah. How did the drum kit get up here? All these wires, where do they go?
Yeah.
Does it sound good out there? I can't hear your vocals. I can't hear your guitars.
Yeah.
To our amazing producers for this podcast, Rebecca, Peter, and Patrick, all working their butts off also, too, getting this all together. It's an operation, man. It's an all systems go operation with so many players.
Yeah, well, and then all the gear that goes bad.
Yeah, and then we got to pay for that.
Yeah.
Business write-off, though. It could be, you know?
Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, I'm not complaining at all because we're very lucky.
But we're talking. Yeah.
But, you know, I feel incredibly lucky to you know, I started at 40 years old to do what I love to do, which is massage and music.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I got very lucky that I figured it out.
Yeah.
You know, at 40.
And I think also, in a sense, having that corporate lifestyle beforehand showed you what you really ultimately want to be doing. But you also saw the corporate side of things as well, too.
Yeah.
Like for me, having experience working with corporate now with Vail with Okemo, but also having the small business mom and pop background in Blanchette Sporting Goods for many years in Connecticut where I lived. Doing more is good for your background and your resume and gaining experience. It's the whole part of the circle of life process of learning as much as you can, realizing what works, what doesn't work, something that's somewhere in the middle, like the little twist, the tasty twist, and just figuring out where you want to go next. And then if you could put it all together and then be your own brand, it's cool. It's cool. And you're crushing it with that, dude. I give you a lot of credit. You're crushing it with it.
I appreciate it.
And you got a whole community behind you as well, too. You always have. I love seeing it.
You know, that's coming from the you know, the unofficial.
The unofficial. Oh man, that conversation again.
I'm kidding.
I know.
That's a respect thing, Sammy.
Well,
I'm not making fun of you, man. I really,
that, man.
you know, I have the same admiration for you. This is the Mutual Admiration Society. Podcast.
Yeah. In hashtag quotes.
Yeah. So
yes.
what else you got for me, Sammy?
Let's what do you say? See these guys right here that we picked up briefly?
Yeah.
Let's do one of your tunes.
Sure.
What do you say?
Absolutely.
Let's noodle. Let's jam. Definitely we have, and as you guys can already see, we have so much more to get into. We're just gonna have to have you back for another episode, obviously. You know. If you want to.
I would love to. Yeah. I mean, I would love to talk more about the local music industry and, you know, because it is so elusive to people, and talk about more about the venues and talk about, you know, the full-timers versus the part-timers and
absolutely,
you know, how it really works, you know, or how we want it to work. You know,
I forgot to ask you also too, because our careers are so based around restaurants and clubs. Do you have a favorite food that you like at like a restaurant? Like I think it's salmon's like your main go-to dish, right? Like
yeah, I mean only because you know you don't want to, you know, as an entertainer who's getting comp meals. Yeah. You don't want to get the lobster thermidor,
or the tuna salad, right? Yeah.
Well, no, you don't want to get the $40 thing on the menu.
The steak. Yeah,
you know, because especially if you're doing a residency and you're there every week. You know, so
I mainly ask because one of my favorite foods whenever I'm out on the road is Mexican food. I love Mexican food and pizza.
The thing is that doing the Skunk for 5 years, they have one of the. I don't want to point at anybody else specifically, but they have one of the best burgers in the world. And so I would get it every week, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I'm like 20 pounds. You know, like, so I had to be like, okay.
If you get them without the fries, it may help in the calorie department,
much.
maybe. Not much.
That's when it hit me, like, you can't be doing this every week. You have to eat. You know, if you want to keep doing this work, you have to eat right.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, well, it's better. It's better for your voice. You know, it can give you more energy. That's why I'm sure, you know, a lot of musicians like yourself, I'm sure probably in a time, and myself also too, beauty about living in Vermont, hiking trails, mountains, biking, even a gym every once in a while in a town like Rutland or Queechee, you know, it's good to do stuff. I would imagine massage therapy is also good for your hands as a warm-up as well, too.
Well, actually, massage definitely keeps me in good shape, and I'm there 3 days a week at the Woodstock Inn.
Woodstock Inn, nice, yeah, great.
I also have a couple private clients that I'll work on.
Nice. There or at your place?
Outside.
Outside,
yeah. I mean, I have one actually Thursday. I'm going there to their house to do 3 massages. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that keeps me in decent shape, and I also live at the base of Mount Escutney, so.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just starting to.
I told you Erica lives over there, right? My girlfriend.
Oh, really?
She has a house on Mountain's Edge, one of the townhouses at the bottom of Escutney. Yeah, cool. Right near where the rope tow is, where they have the mountain bike trails.
Yep. I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's right near Brownsville.
Shout out to our friends at Brownsville Butcher and Pantry. That place is fantastic. You ever gotten a gig there before?
No, but I know Peter.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, they're doing those things up at the Escutney thing up on the hill.
Yeah. Like the Trails Association? Like,
they're doing a summer music series.
Yeah, with like pop-up like food trucks, right? And ice cream?
Yes, exactly. And I was just too busy when he asked me already. You know, like there's a whole nother subject, right?
Yeah.
You know, people, you know, ask and, hey, can you do my party in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Or, hey, I'm in a pinch in 4 days. Can you
booked till
do it?
December.
Yeah.
I'm up to December 31st.
Yeah. That's another thing also, too. I admire your hustle in for the most part, being your own agent, too. Because that's another homework assignment in and of itself is when we're done with a gig, I've been doing this for a while now. I immediately go home and start working on catching up with emails and texts again, gig related. And it's such an important part of the job. It's basically you're your own independent contractor.
That's where the most work goes into, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the part that no one sees.
Yeah, they see the monkeys, but not.
Anyway, let's be some monkeys.
Let's be some monkeys. Let's do it. Yeah.
This song is called Better Man.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, I am.
I struggle every day, I trip and fall. Seems sometimes bad luck trails me, never to the wall. I get back on my feet and head towards the sun. With the heat upon my face, I start to run. Be a better man, better man, better man, be a better man. I try to shed my ego, eat some of pie. What's the point of blind attention? I wanna look you in the eye. I don't wanna solve your problems, just validate. Practice humility, I hope it's not too late to be a better man, better man, better man, better man, be a better man. Be a better man, better man, be a better man, better man, be a better man.
All right, Sammy, give me some.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Woo!
Wanna be a strong provider, give to my son. Since the things don't make you happy, it's all just instant fun. I don't wanna be too lazy, wanna work real hard.
Woo!
Head in the right direction, follow my heart, be a better man, better man, better man, better man, be a better man. Be a better man, better man, be a better man, better man, be a better man.
Doing the best you can,
One
brother.
more time, Sammy.
Be a better man, better man, be a better man, better man, be a better man.
Woo!
Be a better man. Be a better man. Be a better man.
Be a better man.
Be a better man.
Doing the best you can.
Be a better man.
Give me one more.
Yeah.
Hot damn.
That's a good place to stop.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah.
All right.
Dude,
Very nice.
God, on the next episode, what's the next song going to be? Wow, that was
I don't
fun.
know. We'll have to figure it out.
What album is that off of? Just so the fans know.
That was off of, so my previous band before the Funky Flats was called Foo Chunk. It was a funk band.
Oh, nice.
And then
That's a cool name.
I wrote that song for that band. So we're doing it in the Funky Flats as well.
Nice. Awesome. And once again, just to recap, folks can find you on primarily Bandcamp and Facebook under Jim Yeager.
Yes. Yes.
And then
I'm working on a website.
You're getting there. Yes. Yeah. I know what this means.
Meaning I've done nothing yet. And,
but just like the book on jamestyeager.com, right?
Yes.
Identity Crisis, which
Yes.
you guys can order online. It's also available at bookstores locally in your neck of the woods, right? Correct?
The Yankee Bookshop in Woodstock.
Very nice.
There's also a bookstop shop out in Chester Springs, Pennsylvania, outside of Philly.
Wow.
It's in there.
Oh, that's right. You know, I remember you saying it got all the way down there. That's
it's
great.
called Earth Speak is the name of the place.
I read some of the reviews, man, and obviously I've yet to read the book. I'm gonna one of these days, but you got a lot of good compliments on the book so far, man.
It's a very deep subject, and it's probably
another time, another
podcast
episode.
of its own.
Podcast of its own. Yeah. Well, folks, this has been an awesome time here, episode number 3 of the Tasty Choice with Sammy B. Thank you all for supporting so far this lovely thing that we're doing at Okemo Valley TV, where we're showcasing local Vermont musicians anywhere across the state they may be. And like I mentioned, sometime down the road, it could be just people, entrepreneurs, business owners that just want to simply come in and chat, hang out with the Buddha, drink some coffee, some tea, whatever they want to do. Chat about life. Buddha. This is Buddha. Yeah. Rub his head too. That doesn't get enough love. Yeah. Anyways, thank you to Patrick, Peter, Rebecca for always doing a fabulous job. Again, this is only episode number 3. We have a lot more coming up down the road, months to come. Stay tuned. Once again, as I go to my cheat sheets here, you can watch these when they're released anytime on OkemoValley.tv on demand, the YouTube channel for Okemo Valley TV, and you can also download it on your smartphones, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV. It's been an absolute pleasure having my good partner in crime, Mr. Jim Yeager. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
What a great time.
Thanks
and we'll
for
see you
having
guys next time. Peace and love. Thanks, Okemo Valley TV. I'm Sammy B.
Don't you worry now, my darling.